This podcast is on conifer species, what they are, and how to identify them. Please put identifying conifers in your notebook as a heading. First of all, definition of what a conifer is. Maybe you've in the past called these like pine trees or evergreens, but the correct scientific name is a conifer. These types of species actually have their male and female reproductive structures in cones, which is different from other trees which have seeds and flowers. They also have needle-like or scale-like leaves. So these are what we often think of as the pine tree. They're mostly evergreens, which means most of them stay green year-round, but not all of them. Some of them do lose their leaves. And another term for them that scientists often use is a gymnosperm, which technically means naked seed. In other words, they don't have a fruit or a flower that goes with their seed. Well, you don't have to copy this diagram down, but I just wanted to explain this a little bit to you, what we mean by this naked seed. There are male and female reproductive parts on conifers, just like any other plant. We've got up here at the top an example of a female cone, and then kind of to the side a male cone, and they both release their reproductive structures. You can see the male is releasing what we would call pollen. So right there. And the female is also releasing what is actually an egg. Has what is actually an egg down in her cone structure in the ovule. In humans we call that an ovary. But female conifer species do have these eggs inside them. The pollen from the male falls in, creates an embryo. The embryo develops into a full-grown seed. The seeds are released from the female cone, planted into the ground, and create a young seedling. So that's how the reproduction of these conifers actually works. The male cones, as you can see, are a lot smaller than the female cones. When we see a conifer species, what we're usually looking at is these female cones, these larger ones. Alright, so the most common way to identify conifers is by their actual needle type. The first thing that you can do for identifying needles is kind of the appearance, the initial appearance of the needle. So we've got here a whole set of different structures that I would like you to draw diagrams of. So we've got scale-like needles, which are kind of flat and overlap each other. So if I were going to draw this, I'll just give an example of how I draw it for those of you who aren't great at drawing like I am. I mean, like, I'm not great at drawing, so this will hopefully inspire you to draw a good picture. So they're just kind of flat, overlapping needles. Okay? The next one, these awl-like needles, those are the really sharp, pointy ones. And awl is kind of like a sewing needle. It's like a big sewing needle. Okay, so this is going to be really spiky and pointy. Okay. A linear needle is a long, flat needle. That's easy enough to draw, I think. And then needle-like is these long needles in a group or a bunch. Okay, notice it's different than the awl-like. The awl-like all attached to one central kind of stem, if that's what you want to call it, whereas the needle-like all attached down here at the bottom and then kind of branch off from there. Okay, so make sure you get those diagrams in your notebook. Other characteristics you should write down as well that we can use to identify conifers is the shape of their needles. Is the needle flat all the way around? Is it round like a toothpick? Is it squared off on the edges? The tips of the needles themselves, are they rounded or are they pointed? The colors of the needles, are they light green, dark green, silver green, blue green? You've seen that before, that most evergreen species have a variety of colors. So all of these things you're going to be using in identification of conifers. So make sure, as I said, you have those in your notebook. Okay, the first thing you're going to be doing in class to get introduced to these conifers is read an article called Ubiquitous Conifers. Ubiquitous means all over, can be found anywhere. This was actually from a publication of the Minnesota DNR quite a few years ago, and so it focuses on Minnesota conifer species. So what I'd like you to do in class is to first of all read the article provided, just read it to yourself. They go through, I don't remember right, they want to think it's like 5 or 6 species of conifers. For each of those species discussed in the article, I want you to sketch a drawing of the species that includes the cone and then the needle arrangement. Okay, the needle arrangements are what we just went over in the last slide. So are they scale-like? Are they awl-like? Are they needle-like? So I want a cone to help identify it and then needle arrangement, drawing of those. The other thing that can be used to help identify conifers is the bark. So if they have a description of the bark in the reading, I want you to put that with your drawing as well. So when you're all said and done, your diagram for each of these conifer species in the article is going to look something like this. At the top, I want you to put the name of the species. Okay, so up here, there we go. Again, your drawing of the cone and needles, and then the description of the bark. Now, I think that there are some species that don't have all of these things in the article. In that case, just get a laptop and start looking up the information you need for that species, whether you're missing the needle structure or the description of the bark or whatever. So that's going to be your first introduction to conifers. After that, you're going to bring in your own conifer species and use an online identification system to see if you can't figure out what those species are.